The value that James brings in this video is insane. He's an 8-figure Amazon seller. He's been selling on Amazon for over 10 years, and he's personally my Amazon FBA mentor.
So I know that there's a lot of Amazon information out there. My goal with this video is to break down the process of starting your Amazon business down to the essentials and to really simplify it so that you have an easier time getting started on your journey to financial independence.
And this video is going to be a complete A to Z, step-by-step tutorial by James. And Amazon FBA has changed both of our lives dramatically. And you want to talk about how it's changed your life?
Yeah, so I worked a lot of really bad jobs throughout high school and college. I dabbled in e-commerce a little bit, but my first major job out of college, I worked for this marketing firm, and I thought it was a great job at the time, but then I realized that I was working for someone else's dream. And I always knew I wanted to start my own business, so I ended up quitting. I took the little bit of e-commerce background that I had, I discovered Amazon. I started off in wholesale arbitrage. I ultimately learned how to create my own products and found an opportunity, and here I am.
Yeah, and for me personally, out of college, I had a corporate job. I absolutely hated my life. I ended up getting really depressed because what I found is I would work my butt off, and at the end of the year, I'd get a 3, 4, maybe 5% raise. So I ended up getting really depressed from that, ended up quitting my job cold turkey, spent the next several years trying to sell on e-commerce, trying to do different things to make money online. And then I found Amazon. And within 2 months of selling my first passion product on Amazon, I hit my personal goal of making $300 a day passive income, which has led to me living in my dream location. I live in Santa Monica. I go to the beach whenever I want. If I'm ever tired, I can go to the beach. And I actually spent the other morning, just woke up and went surfing on the middle of a weekday until like 11 o'clock. And that's the benefit of Amazon, is that it's passive income once you get it up and set up.
So I like to define true luxury as time plus freedom from worry. And what Amazon has allowed me to do is to live my life in a way where I do things because I want to and not because I have to.
Yeah, and Amazon is a $1.6 trillion company. This is a huge opportunity right now. In fact, Amazon makes up 50% of all e-commerce sales, meaning 1 out of every 2 sales that happen online are happening on Amazon. And 2/3 of all those sales that are happening on Amazon are from third-party sellers. That's people like you, me, James. Most of the sales happening on this giant platform that's Amazon is by regular people. And the cool thing about this is e-commerce is increasing. A few years ago, it was at 12% of all retail sales. And then this last year, it was 16%, and it's just growing and growing and growing. So this is a huge opportunity, and James and I are gonna tell you step by step how you can start your own Amazon business.
So Travis has been selling on Amazon for about 5 years now, and if you'd like to share some of your success.
Yeah, so in the last 3 years, I launched this one product, and it's done over $1 million in sales. Now, obviously, that's revenue and not profit. The total product cost for me was probably around $300,000. I spent another $150,000 on Amazon selling fees, another $150,000 on Amazon pick and pack fees, and some money on PPC. And once you calculate and you subtract all my costs, at the end of the day, I did about over $300,000 in profit. So if you divide that, basically, over the last 3 years, I was making over $300 a day profit. And during most of this time, I was living the life of my dreams. I was traveling, I was enjoying my life, I was going down to the beach. And so that's the real opportunity with Amazon, is it gives you this ability to live the life of your dreams.
So let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do is to find a product to sell. Now, how do you find a product to sell? There's a bunch of criteria that I like to live by, I like to follow when I start sourcing products. One of them is to make sure that it is a small product, is light, is easier to ship, it's easy to produce, it has an extremely low order defect rate or potential for things going wrong. As a general rule, I like to stay away from anything electronic. So I like to keep it simple. The simpler, the better.
And I'll throw into there, I really like something that you can brand, something that's premium. Because if you can have the best product on the market, you can charge more, which gives you more margin, which gives you more money for any kind of mistakes that happen. It gives you more money for any kind of PPC that you want to spend or any kind of marketing spend. And one thing we didn't talk about, and maybe we should quickly mention, is there's multiple different ways to sell on Amazon. There's retail arbitrage, there's wholesale, there's private label, and then there's creating your own product. And you want to talk a little bit about retail arbitrage and wholesale?
Yeah, so when I started off in wholesale arbitrage, which meant I partnered up with a distributor in the professional beauty industry, and I got products at wholesale price. I ended up selling them on Amazon. This is really competitive. A lot of people have access to these wholesale products. Most of my suppliers are in the United States. So it's something that you can find opportunity with. Is there still room today? Yes, but is there a lot of longevity? I would say it's not the best for that. Yeah. The next thing would be for retail arbitrage. And this is something that I personally don't ever do, but occasionally I'll find some opportunities like at Costco or Walmart or CVS, or if I find items that are at deep discounts, I'll look it up immediately on Amazon. I'll find that I could flip it for 30 to 40% return on my investment. And now it's not something I generally do because it's very time consuming to do this retail arbitrage, but it is an opportunity there. The next thing is in private label, which essentially means just finding an existing product that's manufactured. It could be in India, it could be in China, it could be domestic here, putting your own packaging and your own labeling on it, basically creating your own brand, adding value via bundles, or additional color combinations or slight design improvements, and selling them on Amazon.
And of course, what I recommend doing, which is kind of like private label, and James recommends doing, is kind of private label 2.0, which is creating your own product. And it's a spectrum, right? Because the typical private label that most people talk about is go find a junk product on Alibaba, slap your brand on it, and put it on Amazon. That doesn't really work anymore. You should be improving products, and I know that's what James does. Like, even if it's not the most sexy product, I know James will take it and try to make it better in some way. And I think the more unique, the more better your product is than the competition, the more success you're gonna have.
Yeah, also creating a product from start to the point where it's mature on Amazon and making you money, this is gonna take you roughly around 6 months. And it is a lot of work. I mean, we wanna be honest about the risks and the amount of work involved. It is quite a bit of work. So if you're gonna do this work anyway, you might as well create a product that's gonna have built-in longevity. So if you're just gonna brand some product out there that's highly competitive and a lot of people are eventually or potentially gonna price you out, it's not worth that 6-month commitment. So you really wanna think of a unique and original way to create that longevity through making products better, to adding value, to improving things.
Exactly. I see so many people that try to sell on Amazon and they're like, well, this is a cool product and it's going to make me money right now, but they don't realize that, especially with like wholesale, you're going to have a ton of competitors come in. The easier it is for you to do it, the easier it is for your competitors to do it. So spend, in my opinion, a little time trying to make something different and better than the competition.
Yeah, don't necessarily be driven by the numbers. A lot of people will use these scouting tools out there and they'll see that these particular niches have insane volume of sales per month. Don't be drawn to that. There's a lot of opportunity in the smaller niches, a lot more longevity in those as well. Chances are, if you think there's a good opportunity, there's a dozen other people who think it's a great opportunity, and ultimately in that situation, people are going to start competing on price. And that 6 months of work that you put into this business might not even be worth it. And I've personally pulled out a few times on situations like that.
So how do you recommend people actually find products? Do you recommend Jungle Scout, Helium 10, those kind of tools, or what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I used to use Helium 10 and Jungle Scout and things like that to look for opportunities where there's low competition but high potential. But nowadays, I just use my own creativity. I think people don't give themselves enough credit to be original and to be creative and to think about their everyday lives and really just think about the problems that you face, that the products that you wish existed, and the things that you like that aren't good enough. And oftentimes, those are the least competitive categories.
100% agree. That's what I did with Performance Nut Butter. I found a product that I wish existed in the world, and I created it, and it makes it so much more fun because I was the customer avatar. So when I was designing the logo, I tried to make a logo that excited me. When I was designing the packaging, I tried to make packaging that I was into. And so I think if you can really deeply understand your customer, you're gonna have a more successful product. And the best way to understand your customer is by being your customer, by creating something you want.
Exactly, and during this part or this process, I really want to emphasize taking your time. I mean, again, it's gonna be a commitment. This one decision to move forward with the product is potentially the next 6 months to a year of your life, and creating the right product can make your life a whole lot easier. A really great product requires less marketing than a less or an inferior product. Yeah. So take your time, scrutinize the product over time. Ask your friends about it. You should come up with a list of reasons not to do the product. Sleep on it, take your time, and ultimately, if you feel like it's a good decision, then move forward with it.
And remember, those 6 months to a year that you spend working on this product are gonna pay off like insane. If you do a really good job at the beginning, once you get it launched and up on Amazon, it's pretty easy. It's like kind of like building a car. It takes a lot of work to build the car, but once you have it up and going, you just gotta make sure that there's gas in the guy and it keeps running. So this whole process is well worth it.
I also want to talk about the concept of being a little bit more conservative. I know a lot of people are really excited and they're looking for those big opportunities out there. It's not necessarily about the big opportunities because that's where there's going to be a lot more risk. I personally like to be more conservative because if I'm going to build this product, I'd like to be able to sell it for the next 5 years. So it's not necessarily about creating a 6-figure product. You can create 5-figure products, but you can create 10 of those. And a 6-figure product that you sell for maybe 1 year is going to be less than a 5-figure product that you can sell for many years. That longevity is something that you guys really want to pay attention to. Don't get too excited about the hype. Don't get too excited about any of the trends or any of the fads that are going on. Look for those unique opportunities that are not trending, that solve real issues in a meaningful way, and that are not as subject to competition.
Now, the second step, I think at least, is marketing your product before you even launch it on Amazon. And I know we've talked a little bit about that. And I know you launched with Apparel, you did a Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff.
And this strategy is, I would say, one of your specialties is creating this launch group.
Yeah.
And it has a wealth of benefits. And a lot of people like to ask me now, how do you get reviews on your product, right? That's one of the biggest pain points, and this is a perfect way to do that.
Yeah, I think before you launch your product on Amazon, start marketing it on Instagram. Create a YouTube channel, create a TikTok. You don't have to do all of these, but pick at least one platform that you want to start testing and seeing if people are interested in your product. I did this with Performance Nut Butter on Instagram. Created an Instagram and started posting content, and people started following me. So I'm like, okay, I've got a good idea here. The next step was I had an email capture in the bio for Instagram, and I told people, hey, if you want to enter for a chance to win a free sample, click the link, sign up for the email list. And that's another thing there. Start building your email list before you launch your product on Amazon, because what's going to happen is that social media following, that email following, that email list that you have, once you launch that product on Amazon, you're going to send out emails, you're going to post on social media, and you're going to get a ton of people buying your product from day one. And those people are also the most likely to leave a review. Another thing I'll throw in there is a Facebook group. So you have this email list, you have this social media following. Get all those people into a group on Facebook and start asking your potential customers questions. Hey guys, which of these logos do you like the best? For instance, another thing I did is with Performance Nut Butter, I showed the packaging that I was thinking about doing, like the pouch packaging, and I posted that in my Facebook group, and somebody commented and said, hey, that doesn't look like food. You need to add some color. And at first I was like, no, my packaging's perfect, but I took their feedback and I ended up making a better product. So this does a few different things. Not only do you get to advertise to all your potential customers, but you get them involved in the process. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna make a better product because you're basically getting all your potential customers to give you feedback, which is gonna get them more engaged, which is gonna make it so that they're more likely to buy, which is gonna make it so they're more likely to leave a review.
Mm-hmm. And feedback could be packaging, it could be product photos, it could be the copy, the title, the features, the description on your actual product page.
And then the next step for me, which is related to this in testing, is Kickstarter, which I know you've done. And actually, I think we were doing a Kickstarter around the same time. You did yours a little bit before mine. And this is a good way to raise. A lot of people ask me, hey, I don't have any money. How do I sell on Amazon? And the only real way I know to do that is launch your product as a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, do some kind of crowdfunding. The other benefit of doing this is, especially if you're creating a unique product and you're not sure if it's gonna do well, and you're not sure if it's gonna sell on Amazon, launch it as a Kickstarter first, test the market, because what I find is if you have an idea for a product, everyone will tell you, hey, that's a great idea. But when you say, cool, it's $20, do you wanna buy it? A lot of people are gonna say no. So this is a chance for you to not only raise a lot of money for your production run, it's a chance for you to make sure that the product you're about to start is actually a good idea. And I raised $15,000 for Performance Nut Butter. I think you raised over $20,000.
Yeah, $25,000.
$25,000. And for me, that was enough money to pay for most of my production run. I don't know, I'm sure it paid for a good chunk of your production
100%,
run. Yeah. So that's some ideas on how you can test your product.
So the next step is sourcing or manufacturing your product. Now, how do we do this? The number one website to go to is on Alibaba.com, which is the largest sourcing platform out there. So you go on there, you start looking for your manufacturers once you have an idea, and then you start contacting these factories. And you're gonna have to vet these factories by looking at their product or their company profile page, taking a look at how many years they've been in business for, look at the number of transactions that they've done, and at the end of the day, just contact them and to use your own intuition. How professional are they? Do they seem like they're really pushy into getting you sales? But definitely contact as many as you can. Get that experience talking to manufacturers.
And there's a lot of different questions you should ask them. Ask them, what's the lead time going to be? What's the minimum order quantity? You can ask them things like, what are the price breaks at different points? Is there any other questions that you feel like you should ask manufacturers before working with them? Like any standard things you've thought of?
Standard things are like exactly what you said, minimum order quantities, the lead time. That's going to be huge because when you're starting to run out of inventory, it's important that you can get a new batch shipped over into Amazon as quickly as possible. The last thing you want, especially if you're trying to rank, if you're a new product, is to run out of inventory. That totally kills your ranking. So maintaining that inventory is hugely important. Product lead time, that's where it really comes in.
And a lot of people think that on Alibaba, when you can only buy the products that are there. Remember, they can customize products. If you, for instance, see someone that prints cards with Vino Cards, my girlfriend's product, we found someone that did basically flashcards, and we said, hey, can we customize this product? Can we put our own designs on it? Instead of it being 20 cards, could we do 50 cards? Could we do a different type of box? So a lot of these manufacturers, they have the ability to customize products.
Yeah, they're also going to be able to bundle products for you. You should always think about how to add value over your competitors. So if that means including an accessory, you've got better packaging, you've got better colors, or a better design, they can likely modify these things for you or include anything you need. There's a few other ways that you can look for manufacturers. It depends if you're looking to manufacture things overseas or domestically. I know you found your manufacturer in the United States.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than you would think. I just went to Google and I typed in nut butter manufacturer, and you can find a lot of people. And so what I recommend doing, start emailing them, start picking up the phone and calling them. Some other ways that you can do is go to conventions. I know right now there's not a lot of conventions happening, but you can look at previous year's conventions, look at the exhibitor list. So what I did is I went to Natural Foods Expo, which is the largest consumer packaged goods, basically the largest food expo. And I went down the list and I called every single one of them and said, hey, do you do nut butter manufacturing? And not all of them did, but what ended up happening is some of them say, you know what, we don't do that, but I know Steve over at Steve's Nut Butter does that. So pick up the phone and start calling people. There's even Jungle Scout, I believe, has a feature where you can look up competitors' manufacturers. So you can actually use this Jungle Scout tool and you put in the ASIN of different Amazon products and they will find out who the manufacturer is. I haven't used it personally. I don't know how reliable it is.
Yeah, like a lot of this is actually public record, is all the import logs. So if you know the name of a company and they make a product that you like, you can type in the name of that company on some of these websites. You can Google that, you can type in the name of the company and they'll tell you exactly who they're importing it from and where.
And how do you know how much product to order? So let's say you're going to be launching this product. You want to make sure you don't order too little. You want to make sure you don't order too much. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the general rule is going to be roughly around 3 months, depending on where you think your product velocity is going to be when you start. You have to factor in things like your giveaways, the fact that you're going to likely sell your product for a lot cheaper than anyone else to ramp up your velocity. But 3 months I've found is a really good sweet spot.
And what about margins? So let's say you're buying a product for $30, or you're buying a product, you want to sell it for $30. How much should you expect to pay? Like, what's an acceptable range?
So I like to talk about things in terms of ROI, or return on investment. That's just the way I like to evaluate my business performance. And to me, a good ROI is a 300 to 400% ROI. So if I buy something for $1 and I'm making $3 or $4 on it, then that's worth it for me.
Yeah. And then, so you get the product manufactured. How do you get it? Let's say you're getting it made in China. How do you get it over here? Like, what are your thoughts?
Okay, there's a couple different ways you can do that. Number one, you can work with an import broker. So then they can handle the shipment either by air or by sea if it's coming in a 20 or a 40-foot container. And then they can handle the whole process of logistics, getting it from the factory to the port, from their port to the port in the United States, whether it's Long Beach or it's Miami, and then into your warehouse. Nowadays, a more efficient way to do it is to get it directly shipped to Amazon. as the final destination. And you can either do that by air, you can completely arrange that in Seller Central, or you can do that with your import broker as well.
I know a lot of people are also worried about getting scammed by their Chinese manufacturer. How do you make sure you don't get scammed, and do you have stories of that actually happening?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely many situations throughout my 10 plus years of selling on Amazon where I've made products and when I received them, they weren't as expected. So now, lesson learned, many mistakes later, always pay for an inspection. Even if you have a really good relationship with your manufacturer, at the very least, ask them to take video, ask them to take photos, send everything to you, have you sign off on the quality, the packaging, everything, the attention to detail prior to them shipping it to you.
Are you saying hiring an inspector to go check it out? How much does that cost?
It's roughly going to be about $100, and they can give you a full report based on the criteria that you give them, whether it be X amount of quantity needs to be per case, the color needs to be this, or it needs to be bundled with these accessories, the packaging needs to look like this, etc. You give them the criteria, it's roughly going to be at about $100. There's a company called Global Inspections, and they do it, and they're all over China, but it's $100.
Now, one thing before we talk about creating a listing on Amazon, I want to point out is James is an expert at all this stuff, but it's actually, once you get started, it's a lot easier than you would think. Finding a manufacturer, that was one of the things I was the most scared about, but finding a manufacturer is pretty easy, because keep in mind, their business is reliant on making it as easy as possible for you to find them and to work with them. So yeah, James has introduced me to his manufacturer before, and I was like, I don't know, how do we make flashcards for wine for Ariana's products? We were using this, and he's like, yeah, let me help you. Here's some different examples of box types you might want to do. Made the entire process so easy. Same thing with getting the product shipped from China into the US. It seems like it'd be really complicated, but you can actually just hire someone for really inexpensive to do that. So this entire process is a lot easier than it seems at first. Any other thoughts before we start talking about how to actually create the listing on Amazon?
Like I said, the decision to move forward with a product is a commitment to the next 6 months minimum to a year of your life. Take your time, make sure that you pick the right product, consider all risk factors, including competition, consider how long that you can sell the product for, consider what your margins are, consider how easy it is to produce, how easy it is to deal with your manufacturer, what the potential for problems are. But take your time and scrutinize it over 2 weeks minimum. Don't get too excited about this process. It's really important. It's life-changing.
But now getting excited again, let's talk about creating the listing, because that's a really fun part of this whole dynamic. Is once you have the product manufactured and it's all ready to sell on Amazon, what you need to do is you need to create a listing on Amazon, which is pretty easy to do. But if you do it right, you can actually increase how much money you're going to make from it. So let's talk about that. What's the first step? Let's say someone they've got that product that they want to sell on Amazon. What's the first step? What do they need to do?
So the first step is you're going to need to get your barcodes, and you can either get that through a company that resells barcodes like Nationwide Barcode, or the GS1 barcodes, which means that you're getting your own barcodes. They're a little bit more expensive. There's pros and cons of each, but that's the first thing you want to do. Get your barcodes. Second thing you want to do is actually build out the listing, and this means build out the listing page, the title, the features, the descriptions, the search terms in the back end, and your product photos and video. If you're not an expert on this, you don't know how to do it, hire out. There's so many resources out there right now that can do great copywriting for you, that are optimized specifically for converting sales on Amazon. If you're not great at taking product photos, look at examples of products that you really love, that you think are doing a great job with their listing. Hire a photographer to do that. Give them a list of all the shots you want that are based on the competing product or another listing page that you just really like. Bottom line is hire out. I personally pay roughly about $75 per photo, and oftentimes it could be a good idea to do 3D renderings. I know that you've done a 3D rendering for your product, and it's really helpful for products that are difficult to photograph. And when I say 3D renderings, I mean these are photoreal renderings. It's almost undiscernible.
And one thing I'll throw into this is that remember that Amazon is a search engine. That people go to Amazon, they search for products, and the way that you're going to get your product to sell is by getting to the top of the search results. So something that a lot of people don't spend enough time thinking about is figuring out what your keywords are. What keywords, that's basically what someone types into Amazon, figure out what keywords you want to rank for. So for me personally, that's the first thing, once you're ready to start building your listing, I would recommend doing is figuring out what are those keywords you want to rank for.
Yeah, there's also a balance between searchability and conversions. So when someone types in a keyword into the Amazon search, the results are going to show a photo and the title of the product. Yeah. So that photo or the title needs to encourage someone to click on it. So it's one thing to rank number one, but if it's a horrible photo or a horrible title, not necessarily going to click on it. So you want to take into consideration the conversions as well as the searchability.
And that's what James was talking about earlier. So your main image, the title, and the number of reviews are the most important things. Well, let's talk. So the main image, as he was saying, is you can do a computer rendering or really spend some time and energy making that as good as possible. You want to make sure you don't have too much white space around it, because the more white space you have around it, the smaller your picture is going to be. The less white space, the bigger the picture of your item is going to be.
And take a look at what your competitors are doing. If they all have the same photo, that is an opportunity for you to stand out with a different photo. Be creative with the angles. Be creative with showing the accessories, showing the packaging, showing the bundles that you've included.
The other part of it is for the title, for instance, you want to try to include those keywords that you're trying to rank for. For instance, with my product, it's a nut butter that people eat when they're on keto. So a lot of people type in keto nut butter. So I want to make sure I include that in the title of my product is as close to the beginning of the title as possible.
Yeah, and the other important thing is to remember that you need to be testing. Mm-hmm. So just because you've created what seemingly looks like a great photo or beautifully written title doesn't mean it's really effective. So you need to be testing these things. Try different photos as your main image. Try different titles. See how it affects your ranking. See how it affects your conversions.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind here is that you want a title that's not just meant for the algorithm. It's not just stuffed full of keywords. It needs to be human readable. It needs to be something, as James was talking about, when people see it, they're like, wow, that looks really good. I want to click on that. And then once people click on it, another thing that we kind of talked about a little bit is all the other images. Let's go into more detail about that, because the main image in the title is what gets people to click. And then once they're in there, the thing, in my opinion, that makes people convinced to buy it is all your other images, the bullet points, the description. How do you go about the other images? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So it's essentially an advertisement. So most people shop through the images. So they take a look at the images first, and this is where it also helps if you have video. Mm-hmm. You could spend a little bit of money creating a product demonstration for whatever your product is. But your images, you're allowed up to 9 images. You want them to be all different. You want to highlight all the different features, the added value that your product brings. And you also want to do comparisons with other products as well. You can do this in the 9 photos of your listing, and you can also do this in what they call now the A+ content, mm-hmm. which is a rich media format for the description area of your listing page. One of the most beneficial things, at least for me, is the comparison chart or the comparison to your competitors and showing why yours is better, whatever that may be.
And remember, this is a chance for you to show the benefits of owning your product, because people, when they're buying something online, they can't hold it in their hand. When you go to Walmart, you can hold the product, you can inspect it. So show your product from different angles, show your product in use. I like to show my product on how people can eat it, because that's a question that I get a lot is, well, how do I eat this? Do I just eat it out of the pouch? Do I put it on an apple? So I show all of that. And I also show action photos, people running, people climbing, eating the product. And you want to give people the emotional feeling of what it's going to be like to own your product, because people buy with emotions. So show them enough photos where they're going to know what it's going to be like emotionally to own your product.
Those lifestyle photos are amazing. Really showing that context, I think, is hugely helpful. The other thing is this is going to cut down your customer service that you have to do significantly. So just if you were the customer, to think about and ask yourself, what are the questions that you might have as a consumer, and answer those either through your photos or also fill out the question and answers section of the product page.
The question and answer section, that is actually a great ninja hack. This is, I don't know if this is kind of gray hat, but you can get people to ask questions. For instance, I might have someone ask on my product, hey, is this Whole30 friendly? Because that's something I know people are curious about. And I'll respond with a really clear answer and say, yes, this is Whole30 friendly. Because the average person that's looking on Amazon, they're not going to type, even if they have a question, they're not going to type it in. But if the answer's right there for them, that might be the thing that convinces them to buy.
And guess what? Now you have Whole30 as a keyword that allows you to be searchable through people searching for that.
And another way I think you can convince people to buy your product and rank on the Amazon search engine is through the bullet points. And the bullet points is a great place to convince people to buy your product. It's a great place for you to show the benefits of what it's going to be like to own your product. What are your thoughts on bullet points? How do you go about those?
I would say most people start reading the bullet points first, so the bulk of your information should be there. And I know they give you a pretty sizable amount of characters. I think maybe 500 characters per bullet point, but that's going to be the first touch point. The second touch point is going to be the body or the A+ content / description section of your page. So answer all the questions, highlight all the value added in the bullet points.
And I recommend, again, don't just talk about the features of your products. Like my product, I could say it has 19 grams of fat, but instead I say it's high quality fuel from fat. It's gonna make you feel energized all day. That's what people wanna see. But make sure at the same time you're including some of your keywords in there. And one thing, this is a ninja hack actually I think I got from you, is at the bottom bullet point, say 100% satisfaction guarantee, let us know, 30-day money-back guarantee. Now here's the secret, all products on Amazon have a 30-day money-back guarantee, but by putting that there, it makes people more likely to buy your product. It's like, oh yeah, 100% money-back guarantee, hell yeah, I'm gonna buy this. But all products have that, so that's
yeah. So bottom line is do your research, look at examples of really great, really well done product listing pages. And number two, if you're not an expert, you need help, there's tons of resources out there. Hire someone to do your photos, hire someone to do your video, your title, your features, your descriptions, all of your SEO. You can farm it out and it's really not that expensive.
Now, once people have the perfect listing, they've got their title, they've got their bullet points, they got everything else, the next real step, in my opinion, is launching the product. How do you go about launching on Amazon?
Well, this is where your launch group actually comes into play.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect coming full circle on that is a successful launch is going to be a combination of really good reviews, really good pay-per-click, and a really good price or offer. So you want to make sure that you reach out to the people in your launch group. You ask them to buy it. You ask them to leave a review. So once you start getting the right amount of reviews, maybe about 5 or 10, then you can really start your pay-per-click advertising. And with the right amount of reviews, your ads are going to convert a lot better.
And one thing I like to do before I launch a product on Amazon, I like to let people know, first off, all along the way, months beforehand, I've been having them be a part of this group. I've been showing them logos, I've been showing them the different packaging. But then let's say a month or so before I launch, I like to let them know, hey, May 12th, I'm launching this product. Everybody get really excited. Then a few weeks before I say, hey, it's only 3 weeks away. A week before, I'm like 1 week away. I really try to build up the hype. Just like when you see a new Star Wars movie comes out, they're building up the hype months beforehand. And that's how you get people from day one to buy your product. And that's really the goal, is to get as many sales from day one as possible. And ultimately, within the first few weeks, as many reviews as possible. And so build up that hype, get people really excited, because if you just out of the blue message someone and say, hey, my product's live, go buy it, you're not gonna get a lot of sales. But if you've been bringing people along the journey the whole time, they're gonna be as excited for you as you are for you, and they're gonna wanna go buy.
So when you launch, you wanna hit the ground running. You wanna make sure that you have a really, really great price. And this is why it's so important to have 300 to 400% returns on your investment, is because you have that margin in there to offer your product at a much cheaper price than your competitors. So especially if you don't have reviews, a lot of people are motivated by price to buy the product. So I personally like to break even or even lose a little bit of money to make the offer so great that my competitors are too scared to compete with it, especially on price. Especially if these guys have been selling at a certain price for a long time, it doesn't look good if they're all of a sudden discounting their price. So you want to make sure you hit the ground running, sell at break even or lose a little bit of money.
I'll throw in, there's no excuse within the first few weeks, the first month, not to have reviews. Now, this is a little bit gray hat, but people that you know from the gym, people you know from work, say, or someone you know from high school, send them a message and say, hey, buy my product and I'll Venmo you the cost of the product as long as you leave a review. Again, technically this is against the Amazon's terms of service, but I know a lot of people that have done this and had a lot of success. When I see a product on Amazon that has 0 reviews and it's been out for more than a month, I think that guy's not trying. Now, you've kind of had some negative experience with this, so maybe we should balance this out.
Definitely, that's a great point. If you just have friends and family that aren't necessarily living in the same household where they can be connected to the same IP, feel free to ask them to buy the product. Don't leave a review right away. Maybe they can wait a week or two, make it seem really organic. But if you meet someone on the street, you know, you have a friend you haven't seen in a long time, you can ask them to buy the product, and you can just reimburse them for the product costs as well. But I definitely will not recommend any review generation services. 90% of the time, they're really shady. They're against the terms of service, and we're going for longevity here. So we want to be more conservative. We want to make a lot of money over a long period of time. We don't want to get any accounts suspended here. There's another strategy, and this is going to be more of a ninja hack, is I like to launch my products as 2 listings. And they can be 2 different listings because it's technically against terms of service to offer the same thing twice. So you can do 2 offers. You can do one in a certain color, one in another color, or one that comes with one accessory, another one comes with another accessory. You can launch them simultaneously. And the reason why this is beneficial is because sometimes you get hit with that very first or second review that's a 1 star for whatever reason, and now Amazon doesn't require comments for reviews, so you don't necessarily know why you got it. But in the case that you did get a 1-star review, it's really hard to dig yourself out of it, especially if it's one of the first 5 reviews. It means you have to cover up that review with a ton of other ones to really get it back up to the 4-star or 4.5-star that you need to properly convert. So in this case, if you launched with 2 listings, you can always get rid of one. And if you have a particular bundle, you can always change that later in the future. But the ninja hack is to launch with 2. So the other thing that is a must do for all new product launches is to participate in the Amazon Early Reviewer Program, where all you have to do is pay $60 and they will send product out to Amazon verified Vine customers and get you 5 reviews, your first 5 reviews. So always participate in that.
I'll say always do that unless you have a really strong product launch group. For instance, I don't do that because I know I'm going to get 5 reviews super easy. So there's no reason for me to spend money to get those 5. And I don't know if you disagree with that, but my thought is just, hey, I'm going to get 50, 75 reviews really easily. Is it still worth it for me to do it?
I don't think it hurts. It ends up being really cheap per review. So yeah, it's just a standard operating procedure for anything that I launch.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's say you've launched your product, you killed it on the launch, then what? Like, how do you keep the momentum going? I mean, obviously, go to the beach, go hang out, like enjoy your life, but what else are you doing to keep the momentum?
Okay, so now that you have your reviews, you've got a great offer, a great price. This is when you want your pay-per-click ads or PPC ads to kick in. So there's a lot of different strategies on this, and this is a really in-depth conversation we could talk about in a separate video. To keep it simple, you can start your automatic pay-per-click campaigns, which also doubles as a way to research your keywords to find out what people are actually searching for when they convert and they buy your product. So set up your pay-per-click campaigns and figure out what's working, figure out what's not working. Once you have your campaign set up, you're gonna have to start adjusting your bids. Like I said, this is a really in-depth conversation. Just know that you have a responsibility to become somewhat of an expert on pay-per-click. The last thing you want to do, and I always advise against farming out or hiring out for pay-per-click optimization if you don't already know what you're doing. Yeah. You must at least know enough to be dangerous. And this goes with search engine optimization as well, but definitely spend the time to educate yourself, do your homework. There's tons of videos out there. Become somewhat of an expert on pay-per-click. And
Amazon PPC is one of the best ways to spend money and actually make more money, because basically if you do it right, you could spend $1 and make $2, $3. And if you can get that dialed in, you could just up the amount that you're spending. And what's going to happen is it'll increase the amount of sales you're getting on that product, which Amazon will see that and be like, wow, this product's selling really well, which is likely to make it go up in the search results, which is going to make you sell more product, and it's just kind of this snowball. So Amazon wants you to spend money on PPC, and it's well worth it if you know what you're doing.
Exactly. I mean, especially like the benefits from an organic SEO standpoint. If you're converting through your paid ads for a particular keyword, that's going to help you rank organically for that keyword. So spend a lot of money on the keywords that you're really going for, that you think that people are going to search for when they're at the point of purchase.
Now, before we go into the next step, there are some other ways that you can continue to expand your sales and continue to grow that. And one thing to think about is social media. You don't just have to market on Amazon. You can use social media to boost your sales on Amazon even. And some ways to do that is, for one, start an Instagram, start a TikTok, start a YouTube channel, start talking about your product, put links to your Amazon listing. Amazon sees this. Basically, Amazon sees that you're getting outside traffic to come and buy a product on their website, and they love it. And they're going to reward you. They're going to put you higher up in the search results, and it will get you more sales. Another thing to consider, and James does this as well, is utilize influencers. Right now, we're in like the influencer age. If you can send a free product to an influencer and they'll post about it on their Instagram, on their social media, and that will lead to sales, that's a very powerful way to increase your sales and to increase brand awareness.
Yeah, these influencer videos are going to be found everywhere on Google and all the search engines, on YouTube. It's a really inexpensive way considering how much it actually costs to produce a video. It's really inexpensive if you can just do a trade of product for a video that's going to be evergreen, that's going to be there forever unless someone takes it down. It's just another touch point for someone to find your product, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook.
And so let's say people, they've launched, they're continuing to grow their brand, their business. What's the final step? Like, what are some final thoughts that they should know about?
So one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of new sellers making is they expand too quickly. They get really excited about their success in the United States and they want to start expanding through Canada, through the UK, through France, Germany, Spain, Australia, Japan, etc. Make sure you go as deep as you can in the United States before expanding, because you're just going to spread yourself too thin. You're going to have inventory everywhere. You're not going to have the cash flow to support it. There's so much opportunity in the United States. If you haven't fully optimized your page, you haven't done your video, you haven't done your Instagram ads, you haven't done your PPC optimization, do not expand. And when you are ready to expand, I know you just spent a lot of time in the first 6 months or a year building this product up. Why would you want to keep repeating that over and over again? There are a lot of ways for you to expand within your vertical, like coming out with a different variation, whether that's a size, a color, a new bundle,
a flavor,
yeah. Or a slight design modification. You already have the relationship with the manufacturer. You could probably negotiate better deals because you're creating a bigger order with one manufacturer. They probably already have the capability of creating any sort of modification that you want or bundle. But it's going to save you a lot of time and headache. And guess what? If you create a variation product, you're going to be able to piggyback off of the traffic that your original product was getting. So your launch is going to be a lot easier rather than going with a completely new product that is unrelated.
Another thing to think about, once you've launched your product and once it's growing, this might be a good time to start hiring virtual assistants. It's not just about growing your business, it's also about making your life better. The whole reason I started Amazon was so that I could live the 4-hour work week, so I could enjoy my life. And the best way I know of to do that is hire a virtual assistant to handle all the things that you don't want to do, all the customer service, all the little, dealing with the social media influencers, all that kind of stuff. It's
listing management.
Yeah, it's one of the most powerful tools I've ever utilized.
And this is where I have to credit you, Travis, is for introducing me to virtual assistants. I mean, it's been a godsend. It's been life-changing. It's saved me so much time. And it's roughly, for me, about $500 a month for 160 hours of work in the Philippines.
And let's link a video down below. I have a complete guide on how to hire a virtual assistant. Again, one of the most powerful things that I've done.
So I know all this information can be really intimidating, but I hope I've done my job to really simplify things and to encourage you guys to get started on your Amazon business. If you guys are interested in something a little bit more in-depth and more detailed, Travis has a really great free resource that I'll link to right here. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Guys, make sure to click on that video. I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, thanks for watching.